Hi everyone, this is Nim Kolkar. Welcome to Sunday Chats with Nim. Can you please pop in the comments if you can hear me clearly? So just write all good, or just let me know if you can hear me, and then I can continue without worrying about audio. I'm just going to wait for a bit for everyone else to log in. But in the meantime, those of you who are logging in, if you can hear my voice clearly, can you please pop that in the comments? Because I remember last week there was some technical glitches, etc. And some of you couldn't hear me clearly. Pooja says, hi Nim, all good. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Pooja. All right, let's just wait a few more moments because we are discussing an interesting topic today, and I did get a lot of private messages from people indicating that they're looking forward to joining in and listening to this particular session. So I'm just waiting for notifications to be sent off to everyone. Pallavi says, hi Nim, yes I can. I'm glad you can hear me, Pallavi. Thank you for letting me know. Very clear. Nim says, Malini, thank you, Malini. So welcome everyone, my name is Nim Kolkar. Welcome to Sunday Chats with Nim, which is my weekly Facebook live show where I explore and discuss topics and issues to help you all get ahead, both in your personal as well as professional lives. And today I'm going to be discussing a rather interesting topic, which is dealing with difficult, sarcastic family members. Now, I did want to highlight the point that I have done an extensive Sunday Chats with Nim episode on dealing with sarcastic people in general. And I believe it was a 30-minute video or a 45-minute video. I did that more than a year ago. So you can find that on my YouTube channel. I don't wish to repeat points that I have already explored and outlined in that particular video, how to deal with sarcastic people. So if you go to my YouTube channel later, you will be able to find a video that is titled How to Deal with Sarcastic People, and it is packed with strategies and tips to help you deal with the kind of sarcasm that you may have to face on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you'll enjoy that particular video. While I am talking on the same topic today, I'm going to be covering some new insights and a new angle. So hopefully those of you who've been following my journey through Sunday Chats for the last several years will find something new in today's session. And looks like all my wonderful people know that they have to say hi to me, which is exciting. So I'm just going to say hi back to everyone who has said that. Hi Chandni, how are you? Hi Neeti, hi Sangeeta, hi Vaishali, hi Hetal, hi Gail. And Vaishali says, can hear clearly. Fabulous. Well, I'm super excited to do this session with you all today, and like I always say, I like my sessions to be fairly interactive. So if you have any insights, if you have any opinions that you'd like to share, please pop those into the comment section. And of course, if you have any questions related to today's topic, then by all means pop that in. I usually am able to only answer questions that are put in the comment section during the live session, and unfortunately I can't answer questions that are posted after the session has ended. Alrighty, so dealing with difficult and sarcastic family members, which is something I'm sure most of us have had to deal with at some point in our lives. But the reason I'm doing this particular topic at this point in time is because we are living in very unusual times at the moment. Because of the global pandemic that has affected so many countries, many of us are getting used to what is known as a new normal. Many people are now working from home, which means that it is all the more, it is much easier to drive each other crazy and to get on each other's nerves. Some of you might also be having in-laws staying with you during the pandemic, which may be adding to the tension and the stress, right? So this is just a general video that I'm doing on dealing with difficult, sarcastic family members, whoever they may be. Now, let me tell you what used to happen back in the good old days, the old normal. What used to happen was that we'd all go to work, say 9 to 5, okay, which is 8 hours. And then you factor in 1 hour to travel to work, 1 hour to travel back, which means a total of 10 hours when you would be out of the house and away from the toxic, irritating, annoying, sarcastic family member, right? You were away for about 10 hours. And then you'd come home in the evenings and then you would tell yourself that you had enough patience, just enough patience to put up with that toxic family member for those few hours that you were awake after coming back home from work. But what has happened nowadays? We're all working under the same roof 24/7, which means you can't really escape that toxic family member or that annoying family member. You're stuck with him or her. So what do you do to prevent yourself from driving yourself crazy? All right, so what I'm going to talk about today is not so much dealing with the difficult people in your life as it is about changing how you interpret difficult behavior. So there's one thing that I'd like all of you to recognize and realize once and for all. When you try to deal with difficult people, quote unquote, when you try to deal with difficult people, it is an uphill task. It is an uphill challenge. Instead, what I'd like you to do is change how you interpret difficult behavior. And that's what I'm going to be also helping you realize and understand in today's session. The first point I want to talk about is what is known as the fight or flight response. Does anyone watching today know what is meant by the fight or flight response? I just pause for a minute while you all think about it. Fight or flight. Who can tell me what that means? Just quickly say my hellos to those I haven't said hello to. Just give me a moment. Sakshi Gupta says hello. Hi Sakshi. Hi Siva. Hi Mamta. Chandni says good name. And yourself? I'm well, thank you, Chandni. Hi Bernadette. And Mamta says interesting topic. Thank you, Mamta. So what do you understand by the phrase fight or flight? Does anyone want to quickly type that in the comments? All right, so while you're thinking, let me quickly explain. Fight or flight response is a physiological reaction that we get whenever we are faced with some kind of threat or danger or some kind of negative situation. Now, this fight or flight response actually harks back to ancient days, to the days of our ancestors, when they used this particular choice for survival. For example, let's say one of our ancestors was chopping wood in the forest and suddenly came face to face with a lion, right? Immediately, the brain would try to figure out whether the ancestor was in a position to be superior to the danger that was confronting him or her. Now, if the brain recognized that that person was not capable of overpowering the enemy, then the person would choose the flight response, which means they would run away from the situation. If the brain recognized that the danger that it was facing was less powerful than itself, then it would choose to stay and fight. Now, of course, if you're faced with, with a lion and you have no armor and if you have no weapons, of course, your brain would tell you to flee the situation. You would run away. So you would choose the flight response. Now, I want to tell you something really interesting. Most of us are exercising this choice of fight or flight on a daily basis several times. Let's say you're sitting and enjoying a nice cup of coffee and you notice an insect, a tiny little insect on the windowsill. Without you realizing, somewhere in your brain, the fight or flight response has kicked in. But because the insect is such a tiny little creature and does not pose any kind of danger to you as such, You believe that you are more powerful. So what do? You gently coax it onto a piece of paper and you release it into your backyard or garden. But let's say you are walking down a dark, deserted alleyway. You're the only person walking down that street. It's dark, no lights, no street lights, and you hear footsteps following you from a distance. Now you recognize that you're in danger and that you are not up to facing whoever that nameless, faceless enemy is behind you, so you run. You flee the situation. Now, why am I talking about the fight or flight response in relation to today's topic? Because that is exactly what happens before a discussion turns into an argument. Remember, most arguments began as discussions, and within no time at all, they escalate into arguments. So what I want you to recognize is what is happening inside your brain before you get pulled into an invitation to participate in an argument. Now let's say that this toxic family member says something rude to you. Maybe they insult you, maybe they call you names, maybe they say something that is completely false. Inside you, you have to decide whether you're going to fight or you're going to flee the situation. Now, the thing is that if you have got into the habit of constantly keeping quiet over the years because you think you just can't be bothered, or because you're emotionally and physically exhausted and you don't want to say anything, you're going to keep silent. You're going to walk away from that situation without saying anything. So you're going to choose the flight option. But if you believe that whatever was said was so unfair and so untrue, and you are in the mood to grind your heels in and fight, you will choose the fight option. So the reason I'm talking about fight or flight is for you to understand the physiological reaction that is a normal reaction the minute there is some kind of negative stimulus in your path. Okay, so hopefully you've all understood the fight or flight response, which was my foundation for today's topic. The second thing I want you to remember is that every argument that you participate in takes away a small chunk of your life. I'm going to repeat that. Every argument you participate in takes away a small chunk of your life, a chunk of time that you will never retrieve again, no matter how hard you try. If you fight for 10 minutes, those are 10 minutes you will never get again. If you fight for half an hour, that's half an hour out of your life that you will never get again. So whenever I personally am arguing with someone, with a family member, I'm always cognizant, somewhere at the back of my mind, I'm always cognizant of the... Sorry, I think there was a slight disconnection, so hopefully you can all hear me clearly. Let me repeat the question I said at the start. Is audio back? Can you hear me? There was a momentary glitch. Can someone quickly, one of you good souls, quickly type in to let me know if connection has been reinstated? Can you hear me? All good? Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? I'm just waiting for someone to type. Okay, so I'm assuming all is well. And if you do get a chance to let me know audio is clear, please type that. So I'm always cognizant at the back of my mind that I could be doing something completely different in those 10 or 15 minutes instead of fighting with this person, right? Because let's say you win that argument. Let's say you have that last word, right? Even if you do that, you're still not going to be able to get those 10, 15 minutes or those 30 minutes again. So you better make sure that you're spending those 20 minutes on the right battle. If you can ignore it and if you can walk away, great. But if you insist on arguing, just remember that time is ticking by and time is a finite resource and you're never going to get those 20 minutes of your life again. So it better be worth it. Because when you say yes to an argument, you're saying no to something else. You're saying no to your to-do list. You're saying no to your long-term goals. You're saying no to your short-term goals. Because you can't say yes to two things at the same time. So if you've agreed to spend 15 minutes arguing with your husband, arguing with your teenager, arguing with your mother-in-law, then in those 15 minutes, remember, you could have been doing something far more productive. You could have been ticking things off your to-do list, and you could have been working on your long-term goals. Despite recognizing that time is a finite resource, if you still insist on participating in an argument, then make sure that it is truly worth it. So that's the second thing that I wanted to remind you all, and that is that every battle you participate in will take away some of your energy and your time. The third thing I want to talk about is, by the way, no one has put in a comment. Oh no, sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry, I forgot to scroll. Everyone's written audio is clear. Thank you so much, Sakshi said that. Shivani said, Kale said, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong part of the comment section. Thank you so much, Vaishali, Asmita, Deepa. Hi, Deepa. Gyanjavan. Thank you, Uncle. I'm glad all is well. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong comment section. I was thinking, no one's replied. What happened? And I was soldiering on, hoping audio is clear, but I'm glad to see all is well. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is a lot of people are obsessed with having the last word. They want to win an argument. I've never understood this concept of winning and losing an argument. Because when you think of an argument as something that can be won or lost, you're almost looking at it as if it's a war. And in a war, obviously, one party wins and one party loses. The minute you start looking at an argument as something that needs to be won at all costs, trust me, it's all downhill after that. I'll tell you why it's downhill. Because let's say you're not able to have the last word. If you're not able to have the last word, many times you feel like a failure. And no one likes to feel like a failure, which means the only option we're left with is to win so that we can feel like a winner. And when we are obsessed with winning, that part of our brain which deals with things from a logical perspective or deals with things with reasoning, logic and reasoning, that part gets switched off. And that's when we start screaming at the top of our voices, irrespective of whether or not we make sense, because all that we want is to win. So I want you from today to give up this pressure that you've put on yourself all these years to win an argument, to have the last word. Because I've written these articles ever so many times over the past so many years that having the last word does not mean someone has won. Just as walking away from a battle does not mean you have lost. So can we please park aside this notion that an argument needs to be won at all costs? It doesn't. It may seem like war, but it isn't. Okay, so I don't want you to think that if you walk away from an argument that you are a failure, because trust me, you are not. I walk away from many a battle many times, and trust me, I don't think of myself as a loser. So I don't want you to think of yourself as a loser either. Now I'm going to come to dealing with narcissists. Who can tell me who a narcissist is? Such a tricky word and such a tricky spelling, but I'm sure you've all heard of it. And I'm sure that many of the toxic, sarcastic, difficult people that you are dealing with at the moment, family members, whatever, in some form or shape, that person is a narcissist. So who can tell me, I mean, you don't have to give me the dictionary definition, but what is your understanding of who a narcissist is? Because ultimately, that's what we'll be dealing with when we're dealing with toxic family members. So who's a narcissist according to you all? Now this time I'm going to make sure to scroll so that if there are any responses coming in, I look at the right part of the comment section. Who do you think is a narcissist? Shirley says, Hello, Nim. Hi, Vaishali. Hi, Neelu. Hi, Poonam. So I've just posed a quick question to my lovely viewers and listeners. Who do you think is a narcissist? And Bernadette has a response: a person who is always right and thinks they are great. I love that definition, even better than the dictionary definition, Bernadette. Fabulous. Yes, a person who thinks they're always right and who thinks absolutely fabulous. The bee's knees. Mamta says, is it like jealous? Mamta, it is more along the lines of this person, a person who's a narcissist, is full of admiration for themselves, right? They think the sun rises and sets with them. They think that they're the best. They're full of themselves. Neeti says self-centered. Yes, absolutely. And Sangeeta says a person who always makes you feel that you are wrong. Very, very true. They are right, but you are wrong. And they do that so well, don't they? They've perfected it into an art. Needu says, never accepting that they might be wrong. Nagging all the time. Absolutely, yes. They are unable to accept the fact that whatever they might be saying might be completely far off from the truth. And Vaishali says, one who thinks superior to all. Yes, absolutely right, Vaishali. And Pallavi says, emotional abuser, control freak. Absolutely right. Great. So we all know who a narcissist is. Now, many times when we are dealing with a narcissistic person, that person is usually toxic, can be difficult, maybe calling you names, maybe making you feel worthless, maybe filling you with self-doubt. It's all about them. They're always right. It's their way or the highway, that kind of thing. Okay, Kale says person who only listens to themselves. Absolutely right, Kale. Poonam says who makes you feel down. Very true. Raminda says controlling you in every way. Absolutely right. And Asmita says someone who thinks he or she is always right and all others are wrong. Absolutely right. Yeah, full of themselves. Very annoying people, right? So, and I'm sure we've all dealt with them at some point in our lives, you know, whether it's family members, whether it's extended family, whether it's colleagues, whether it's friends. We've met these people at different points in our lives. And unfortunately, now, because of the global pandemic, if you are stuck 24/7 with a narcissist, oh my goodness, how difficult would that be to keep your own mental equilibrium and to hold on to your self-belief. So that's what I'm going to talk about for the remaining few minutes of today's session. Now, like I said at the start, let's say this toxic family member has just said something incredibly rude to you. Maybe they've called you names, maybe they've insulted you, maybe they've said something that is so unfair and untrue. Now, you are feeling super annoyed because what they've said is so far off from the truth. What do you try to do? You try to explain to them in the sweetest way possible. At least it always starts like that. You try to explain to this narcissist that they've got it all wrong. They've completely misunderstood what you said or did earlier. So you explain and you try to make sense. Now, you know for a fact that this is not the first time they've said something that is rude or untrue or unfair. This has happened before. Be honest to yourself, hand on heart. In the past, when you tried to use logic and reason to talk to these people, did it work? Were you successful? I'm going to guess you weren't. Because if you were successful, then I wouldn't even have any reason to do this session today. The reason I'm doing this today is because so many people are living with narcissists with whom you just cannot argue. You just cannot win an argument, right? You're trying to explain to them from a logical perspective that they've just come up with a formula that is wrong. Maybe you're trying to tell them in simplest of terms, just as an example. You're trying to explain to them really sweetly that 2 + 2 is equal to 4. It's not equal to 5 the way they've decided it is. But you can scream yourself hoarse. You can scream yourself from the top of the roof. They are still going to continue believing that 2 + 2 is 5, no matter what great arguments of logic and reasoning you use to tell them that no, the answer is 4, my friend. They will still turn a deaf ear to all your logical arguments. Do you know why that is? Because a narcissist operates on feelings, not on logic. If they are feeling negative inside, they're going to view everything that comes in their path, including you, from a negative perspective. Right? So if you smile when they're talking, just to keep the peace, they're going to interpret it as you being sarcastic. They forget the role they have played in being sarcastic in the first place. So whatever you do, no matter how innocent it is, they will still put a negative twist on it. Any of you can resonate with that? That they completely blow out of proportion something that you have done that is perfectly innocent. Because a narcissist does not operate on reason or logic, a narcissist operates from a place of feeling. They feel negative, and therefore everything around them is negative, and you cannot win. So if you've been exhausting yourself trying to explain through logic and reason to this person who just does not get it, please take a leave from that kind of reasoning. When you're talking to another rational human being, a logical human being, you can use logic. But when you're talking to an illogical person, an irrational person, come on, let's be honest with ourselves. How can we possibly argue from a place of logic with someone who doesn't know what logic means? And yet, we keep trying, because we have this noble belief that, we've been talking for the last 2 years, but maybe this week, this month, today, this moment, maybe they will finally see sense. They will not. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, my friend, but they will not, because they are built like that. You and I, we can argue on logic. We can argue with reason, right? But a lot of narcissists, unfortunately, do not get logic. So if you've been trying to argue with them logically, give it up. Just give it up. Now, I come to the most interesting part of my session. And I hope you listen with an open mind. I can tell you now itself, I can predict that your initial reaction will be to block what I am trying to tell you. Your initial reaction is going to be, this can't possibly be something I can do. This can't possibly be right. But trust me, I have done it and I know it works. So please listen with an open mind and at least try to think that this option that I'm about to suggest to you might work, because it has worked for me. Okay, so when you are dealing with this rude person, okay, who, does not make sense, who says things that hurt you, who says things that make you feel worthless, when I tell people to pick their battles, okay, when I tell people you don't have to accept every invitation to every argument, what do most people come back and tell me? They say to me, Nim, if I don't speak up and say something, I don't want this narcissist to get away with this kind of behavior. Okay, so I want you to think about, we keep saying this, I don't want this person to get away with it. We say this phrase so loosely, get away with it. Do we even know the dictionary meaning of letting someone get away with it? What does it mean when you say letting someone get away with something? Can you first please pop into the comments so that we can get this bit straight once and for all? What does it mean when we say not letting someone get away with a certain kind of behavior? Can you please pop that in the comments? What is the meaning of letting someone get away with something? Now, don't worry about being super accurate. Just quickly write in the comments, because honestly, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me that they don't always want to walk away from a battle because they don't want to let this person get away with it. They can't just get away by calling me names. This person is making me feel worthless. I can't let him or her get away with it. Neelu says maybe win. Absolutely right. Yes, definitely a way of looking at it. And Bernadette says having the upper hand on you. Yes. Pranoti says escape punishment from. Just ignore. Yeah. So all of you are right. Basically, the dictionary meaning of letting someone get away with something is to let this person not face the punishment for their behavior. Okay, I'm just going to read a few more viewpoints. Pallavi says, let them think their own way. Yes, get away with their own way. Kale says, allowing them to think what they are doing is right if we don't speak up and speak our mind. That's right, Kale, yes. And Vaishali says they think they are right. Absolutely right. Now, the thing is, and I hope you listen to this very, very carefully. Most of the time, a narcissist says or does something that is designed to get a reaction from you. I'm going to repeat that. Most of the time, a narcissist will say or do something that is designed to get a reaction from you. The narcissist is hoping that you fly into a temper. The narcissist is hoping that you start crying. The narcissist is hoping that you throw a tantrum. The narcissist is hoping that you lose all your self-confidence. The narcissist is hoping that you are filled with self-doubt so that you are unable to follow your dreams. They are hoping for some kind of a reaction. And when you react, you are rewarding their behavior. You are giving them exactly what they want. So forget about the fact that making them pay for their behavior. Forget about the fact punishing them for their behavior. You're not punishing them. You're actually rewarding them. They get exactly what they want. They get exactly what they're looking for. Because it's a warped kind of thinking. Don't try to understand it from a logic perspective. You're never going to understand this kind of thought process. You're never going to understand a mind that takes pleasure from seeing someone else experience a negative emotion. When you speak up in anger, when you cry, when you sulk, when you go storming off into your room and bang the door and you sit crying under your quilt, I don't know, whatever it is. Or when you say, you know what, forget it, I'm not going to do all these things that I had planned. You know, forget it, I'm not going to start that business I've been talking to you about. Or forget it, I won't meet this friend that you don't like of mine. Whatever it is, when you give up, when you have a negative emotion, you are giving them exactly what they want. So how then is it that people tell me if I don't speak up, I'm letting them get away? You are letting them get away when you give them what they want. I know this is, you need to completely turn your thinking upside down to grasp this point, but once you do, it is so liberating. It will transform how you perceive these difficult, toxic people. Whenever I'm faced with a narcissist, I know exactly when the trap is being set for me. I know exactly when the person is expecting me to demonstrate the worst side of my personality. Because I like to think of myself as a cheerful, positive person, right? But if I were to walk into their trap, of course I'm going to say something that is nasty, that is vicious, because I'm angry. I'm going to show a side of myself that I don't respect. Why? Because they set a trap and I walked right into it. I spoke up, I reacted, I told them not to talk this way. I'm sorry, it's not about not letting them get away. I'm actually letting them get away with their behavior because I'm rewarding their behavior. I'm making sure that that behavior continues for the rest of my life because I keep crying and I keep getting angry when they say these things. Are we getting this, friends? Are we getting this? So every time you have a negative emotion because of the narcissist, trust me, they are winning. So you need to start putting all this into perspective. Another argument I get a lot of the time is, Nim, if I don't speak up, if I stay silent, that person is going to take me for granted. Oh, another magic phrase that gets told to me all the time. I don't want to be taken for granted. I don't want to be taken for granted. Therefore, I must say something. Therefore, I must react. Therefore, I must not stay quiet. Please, another moment for a dictionary definition. What is the meaning? What is the dictionary definition of being taken for granted? What do you understand? Because we are all throwing around these phrases. I don't want him or her to get away with it. I don't want to be taken for granted. We say this, but do we even know what these phrases really mean? And even if we do know what they mean, have we soaked in the real deep down meaning of these phrases? Because today I'd like to explain what being taken for granted really means. Being taken for granted means that this person expects you to be around doing exactly what they expect you to do all the time. That is being taken for granted. That is being taken for granted. They expect you to do exactly what they want you to do or what they're hoping you do. Now, the thing is, you're speaking up and reacting negatively, or you're crying, or you're having a tantrum, or you're giving up on your dreams because you don't want to be taken for granted, and therefore you feel the need to speak up, the need to be angry, the need to lose your peace of mind. But it's when you do that, that's when you're being taken for granted, not the other way around, because you're doing exactly what you've taught them to expect from you over the years. You are being taken for granted when you start crying. You are being taken for granted when you get into an argument and show the most vicious side of your personality. You are being taken for granted when you walk into their trap, not the other way around. Because when you walk away without being emotionally affected, and this is the key phrase, right? When I walk away from an argument, but I go into my room, let's say I walk away from this argument, but then I walk into my room and I sob my heart out. Or I walk into my room and I'm filled with despair. Or I walk into my room and I'm filled with self-doubt. Or I give up on my dreams. Then walking away from a battle does not make sense. But if I walk away from an argument and hold on to my emotional equilibrium, if I walk away from an argument and don't give up on my dreams, then I'm not being taken for granted. Now, I know this is an extremely difficult concept to grasp, but later please watch this video again so that you can hear exactly what I'm trying to say to you all. Please, let's stop saying that so-and-so will take me for granted if I don't, fight tooth and nail. Please don't say that I can't let this person get away with this behavior. Because like I said at the start, if you do exactly what they're expecting you to do, which is have a negative emotional reaction or start crying or feel worthless, you're actually rewarding their behavior. If you walk into their trap, that's when they're taking you for granted, not the other way round. Tejaswini says, what if they are family? Tejaswini, this session today is about family members. It is about family members, because I've said a lot of things at the start. We look at our arguments with family members as though it's a war, which has to be won or lost at all costs, but it isn't. So with family members, it's more difficult than with friends. With friends, you can just stop taking their calls if you want to, or just not meet them for that coffee catch-up. It's with family members. So if you have a narcissist in the family who's trying to make your life miserable, you're probably, all of you, thinking, oh, if I keep walking away from the battle, then I'm going to be weak. What I want you to remember is, if you walk away from a battle without letting it affect your emotional well-being, then you have not lost. But what most people do is they keep silent. They don't say anything. The reason they're feeling they're weak is because deep down they are crushed. Deep down they are filled with self-doubt. Deep down they believe they are a failure. When that happens, of course, you're going to be filled with resentment and frustration. When I walk away from a battle, let's say somebody calls me names, let's say somebody calls me worthless, okay? And I decide, this person is not worth arguing about. And I walk away from that situation. But if I walk away believing that what they have said is true, if I internalize their argument, and if I think that what they have said makes sense, yes, I'm a complete failure, then I have let them win. Then I've let them take me for granted. then I've let them get away with their behavior, because then they have got exactly what they were expecting from me, which is for me to lose my self-confidence. But if I stay quiet and walk away, or if I say, I don't agree with you, but you're welcome to this opinion, I've asserted the fact that I don't agree with what they've said, and I walk away, holding on to my belief in myself, then walking away is by no means weak. Okay, let me just quickly answer a few questions. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this topic because I've been listening for years to people saying, I don't want to walk away from a battle because I don't want them to take me for granted. They will only take you for granted if you walk away internalizing what they have just said. If you walk away believing that they are right, that you are indeed good for nothing, you're indeed worthless. But if you simply tell these people, yes, I've heard everything you have to say, I don't agree with most of it, but you're welcome to your opinion, and you walk away. And in your mind, you think of something completely different. In your mind, you think of something productive. If you change the narrative in your head and keep telling yourself, I am enough, I'm as worthy as the next person, then how can walking away be the weak option? Okay, Mamta says, is it possible that our behavior or reactions can change their behavior? Mamta, I would like all of us today to stop hoping and expecting the other person to change. Many times, many of us sacrifice for years because we are hoping that somewhere, sometime, the heavens above will smile on us and all that sacrifice will be worth it and the other person will miraculously see sense and transform. Sorry, not happening. Now, before we say, oh, life is so unfair, I always say at the start of all my coaching sessions, and if any of my past clients are tuned into today's session, you will know that I begin all my coaching sessions reminding you that life is not going to be fair. Let's stop expecting everything to be neatly settled and added up. In real life, 2 + 2 may not be 4, my friend. It could well be 5, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is, let's stop thinking that if we do this, if we change our behavior, will the other person change? No. If you change your behavior, will you be happier? Yes. That I can guarantee. If we decide from today onwards, I'm going to have positive affirmations in my head instead of doubting myself, yes, things will be better for you. Will the other person change just because you have changed your behavior? Chances are very, very slim. So Mamta, I hope that answers your question. So your question was, is it possible that our behavior or reactions can change their behavior? The answer is sometimes, in rare occasions, if you're really, really lucky. But for the large part, what I can guarantee, and it's a far better option, is if we change our behavior, we change how we feel about ourselves. If we change our behavior, we increase our chances of having more peace of mind. And isn't that a worthy goal to work towards? Right? Let's just start with the conviction that no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to change this other person, because it is a losing battle. It's all downhill when we think, because you know what happens? The other person does not think that he or she needs to change. You think that they need to change. In their hearts, in their minds, they don't believe that for a moment. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a narcissist. We had the definition settled at the start of this conversation about who a narcissist is. A narcissist is a person who thinks they're always right. So what is it about your behavior? You've been doing, all of us, who are dealing maybe with a narcissist have had a certain kind of behavior for years. Has it changed the other person? No, it hasn't. And yet people keep trying, hoping that, oh, well, I've been trying for the last 15 years, so someday this person is going to see sense. Not happening, right? One life you get, one life, and you don't even know how long we're going to live, right? We don't know when's the last day of our lives. Do we want to spend the last day of our lives sobbing our hearts out for somebody who really did not deserve it? Is my question. And yet we live as though we're going to live forever. Someday I will be more confident. Someday I will stop doubting myself. Someday this person will change. Sorry, it's not happening. You need to be in the driver's seat of your own life. Right now, so many people are sitting in the passenger seat of their own life. You need to hop out of there and get to the steering wheel and steer your life. Does that mean you jump out of relationships and end relationships? No, that is not what I'm trying to say. But it is perfectly possible to stay within a relationship and hold on to your mental equilibrium if you only decide to change how you interpret difficult behavior rather than trying to change the difficult person. So hopefully that makes sense. And Pari says, I just ignore and live my life. That's good. Pari said that the point I'm trying to make is a lot of people ignore a negative person, but deep down inside they are crushed. Deep down inside they've stopped believing in themselves, right? So if you're able to walk away and ignore and hold on to your inner peace, great, nothing like it. And that's something. Emotional health is something that needs to be worked on. Watching one Sunday Chats with Nim is not going to make it happen. It is something that you have to work on yourself for years, which is why mental health is so important. And which is why the most successful people you will ever come across will work on their mental health on a daily basis. Successful people don't take their mental health for granted. They work on it. And there's nothing to be ashamed when you say that you work on your mental health on a daily basis. Why not? Survival of the fittest, as we all know. Isn't that right? Okay, let me quickly take the last few questions before I wrap up. Neelu says, what if they do not leave you? Sorry, what if they... I always know I should have worn my glasses. What if they do not leave you unless they get a reply from you, even if you walk away? Neelu, great question. Even if they don't get a reply from you. Okay, so the reply, I would suggest, if you don't agree, all they want is a reply. So all that needs to be said is, well, I don't agree with that point of view, but you are entitled to feeling the way you feel. I don't believe that what you've said is correct. It's not something I did, but I know that I can't possibly change how you view this situation. So you're welcome to your opinions. If you're polite, if you use the right body language, if a reply is all that is expected, you've given a reply, right? You must ask yourself at all points, and this is for everyone, whether you want to be right or you want to be happy. Do you want to be happy or do you want to convince the other person about your point of view? It really depends. Personally, for me, I'm a seeker of happiness. I love being right, but I'm not obsessed with it, right? If the other person insists on thinking that it's their point of view, and I've explained once or twice and I realize that this is just a losing battle, remember what I said at the start, every battle takes away a chunk of your life. And I'm damned if I'm going to give 20 minutes of my life to an argument that has got no resolution. I will walk away, but I will walk away with my emotional well-being intact. I will not walk away crushed by another person's opinion. Right? So hopefully that answers your question, Neelu. That if a reply is expected and you can't just walk away, please give a reply. Give a reply that that indicates exactly what you believe, right? You need to be authentic to yourself, but you don't need to be rude or aggressive. Give a reply that asserts your opinion, that tells the other person that you don't agree with them. But don't walk into the trap and stay there and get into an argument. If a discussion has escalated into an argument, you really got to decide if you want to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes of your life in a futile argument that you know in advance will not have the resolution you seek. Because those 20 minutes are not going to come back to you. And I'm someone, I protect my time ferociously. That's something I'm very, very careful about. I'm very tight-fisted when it comes to my time. Because when I say yes to an argument, I'm saying no to something on my to-do list. When I say yes to an argument, I'm saying no to working on the next chapter of my book. So that argument better be worth it if I'm going to give up writing the next chapter of my book. And most of the time, no battle is worth it. I've said in a previous video, and I really don't want to repeat it, but cost and benefit. If the cost is more, don't participate in the quarrel, walk away. If the benefit is higher than the cost, dig your heels in and argue by all means till the sun sets. Cost and benefit. Please see some of my past videos because I have explored this topic in detail, so I don't want to repeat it here because I've already run over time and I need to sign off. But quickly, I'm just making sure I've not missed any other questions. It looks, Vaishali says, it looks difficult but not impossible. If you want to be happy, we can follow this advice. Okay, Vaishali, thank you for pointing out, because let me be honest and upfront and tell you, it is actually, let alone not easy, it is super difficult. Okay? Every piece of advice that I've given you today is something I have practiced myself in my life, and trust me, it wasn't easy. Okay? I meet a lot of difficult people even in my career. I meet a lot of difficult people in friendships, in extended family. I'm sure we all do, right? So nowhere in today's video have I said it's going to be easy, but I have said it will transform your life. A lot of people are obsessed with things being easy. If it was, oh, whenever I, write a social media post, sometimes some sarcastic people will say easier said than done. Well, of course it is easier to say it than to do it, because if it was so easy to do it, wouldn't we all be doing it? There would not be any problems in the world. And the reason so many people are not able to achieve their long-term goals is because they are obsessed with things being easy before they attempt it. Whenever I pursue a long-term goal, I go with the conviction that, you know what, this is going to be difficult. And then I'm mentally and emotionally prepared. Because then when I get stuck or I face a roadblock, I'm not shattered or crushed, because I don't go in expecting it to be easy. And I don't do things only because they're easy. If I want something, I recognize that it's going to be tough. If you want peace, if you don't want to walk into the trap of a narcissistic person, if it was that easy, would we be having this session today? We would have all conquered that, right? But it's not easy. So it's not impossible, but that just because something is not impossible doesn't mean it's easy. It's going to be very, very, very difficult. But trust me, if you persist, if you keep on trying, someday you will be glad you did, because then you will know exactly when a trap has been set by you, by a toxic, difficult, sarcastic person, and you will very cleverly, very smartly sidestep that trap. Now, please, I'm sure I'll get a question later that, Nim, there are some people who are sarcastic, but they're really funny. We are not talking about funny sarcasm today, because I'm sure amongst friends, amongst couples, there is funny sarcasm. And honestly, I have some amazingly sarcastic friends who really make me laugh. I'm not talking about that type of sarcasm. Today is all about toxic sarcasm. So let's just keep things in context. Alrighty, so... oh my goodness, I just looked at the clock in my office and it's nearly 5. This is the longest Sunday Chats with Nim I've done in the last 3 years that I've been doing the show. An hour, my goodness, this is supposed to be a 20-minute show. But it's been fun. And I hope you've all enjoyed. And I do apologize if I haven't answered any questions, because I was scrolling so fast that I well may have missed any. But may have missed some. But I hope that you got value from this session. Before I go, I just wanted to let you all know I have a great piece of news to share with you, and I've posted about that. And that is that my creative writing program has been approved by New South Wales government, and we are now a creative kids provider. Okay, so I have a creative writing program for children. There are 2 programs from 5 years old to 8-year-olds. That's one program that is starting early August. The program is $99. It's a 3-hour program divided over 3 days. And then I have another program for children 9 and above, also $99. And that goes over 2 days, also 3 hours. Okay, so if you have a creative voucher, you can redeem that and have the session for free. I will post more stuff on my Facebook timeline. In the meanwhile, that's it for today with this topic. And I hope you all have gathered some value from today's session in terms of how to deal with sarcastic people. Stop looking at it as something that you need to win at all costs. All you need to think about is your own emotional well-being, because life is finite. And when you say yes to an argument, you're saying no to something else. So whatever it is that you're saying no to better be less important than that battle. Alrighty, take care. Love you all. See you very, very soon. Bye for now.